What is your opinion on the gambling industry and dirt racing and its future? Because if dirt racing does go to that mainstream level in 5 years or so, and it gets that big time attention that we all think it should and could get, that's going to be an element that is going to infiltrate the sport.
Yeah, I mean it'll happen. I mean I believe it will at some point. I mean part of the dirt draft idea and concept was with the eventual possibility and hope of maybe getting there at some point. And I think that gambling introduces a lot of positives to the sport, a lot of growth, I think, to the sport, a lot of good things, period. But it also would and will introduce some
fixings,
curveballs and roadblocks. Yeah, I mean,
that's why NASCAR is the best place. You know, you got a horse race, and you can determine which horse runs better. I mean, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the summer race at Daytona 500 after his father died, everybody's crying and everything. It's like there's millions of dollars for someone else to win this race. He's half throttle out front, saying he's pulling away.
Yeah, it's and there's. I wouldn't say that the regulations that are in our industry today can. You know, we don't have compliance people working for World Racing Group. We don't have compliance people working for Lucas Oil or XR or whoever. And
closest thing we got is tire samples.
Right. And even then, there's not a really, I would say most people would not be confident in that process even as it exists. So that would be that's probably why it hasn't already happened, honestly. The other reason is I can tell you from a business perspective, it's very costly. You got to have a lot of big corporate money involved. I mean,
isn't a gambling license $100,000 a year per state?
Well, it varies per state. But, you know, if you were going to have a large impact and have it nationwide for the entire dirt racing industry, you would be looking at upwards several hundreds of thousands of dollars, almost $1 million in just your licensing and regulation that would be required to do something like that. And that's just something that, you know, and it's a big risk when you do it, right? So to get someone to make that kind of investment to introduce gambling to the sport, when they know as soon as they do it, it's going to really throw up some red flags and create some problems, and they may be right back out of the sport. It's going to be difficult to get somebody to do that. And that's why, you know, Dirt Draft is not doing gambling because of those reasons. It's just a lot to take into consideration, you know, right now, and we'll see how things evolve over the years. But, you know, I do think eventually it'll happen. It's just a matter of how long from now.
Right. I know there's a few people who are interested in Pennsylvania and in Iowa as well, because those are two states where online gambling is legal. And my bigger deal, you know, how you have the fantasy set up, it's kind of hard to fix that. Isn't. But when you get into parlays and for instance, will Tyler Carpenter finish top 10 or below top 10 Saturday? I mean, like you said, the issue comes in where, you know, somebody says to the tire changer, hey, tell your friend in California or Iowa or whatever, put $1 million on the top 10. We're gonna pull, you know, we're gonna wreck the car or something like that. You know, that's the type of thing where I feel like it's just not controlled enough. And either way you look at it, it's not controlled.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, and I mean, there's just so many variables, and there's a large investment that would be needed to be made in order to do that. And it's not something I would foresee happening at that level of detail. You know, I think that Dirt Draft is the closest thing to gambling potential in our sport right now. I mean, we've obviously invested in the software and the technology. We've established the relationships. And we're creating a foundation to possibly introduce that, I'd say, in the future. But more than likely, it would be in its current format, right? It would be, rather than earning points that you can use, you'd be maybe earning money. And that's, but
which is how DraftKings and all them do it. It's the same thing.
Yep, it's the same concept. So I would think getting into more detailed is where things would get more complicated and the potential for disaster.